Hello, my name is Christine Arrowsmith, and I am discussing the article by Anne G. Miles, From Monster to Martyr, representing Mary Dyer. I thought the article was very well done, especially in the history department, that it really gave a good account of all of what we know about Mary Dyer, because what actually survived is more almost like secondhand, except for some of her letters and her trial transcripts, which were more published by men of the time, like Edward Burroughs, who had edited one of Mary's letters that she wrote prior to the execution that was stayed, that resulted in the death of two of her fellow Quakers, but her own was not performed, and she was again exiled. That particular letter was edited and put into Quaker tracts to show the martyr side of Mary, and I thought it was very interesting that the article I found by Johann Windsor was talking about how her, they actually showed the side-by-side of what she wrote and what Burroughs actually edited to be used as like the official version, the sanitized version of Mary, because even her contemporaries thought that her views were a little on the extreme side for a woman. And that says a lot, because the Quakers actually were very much one of the few that believed that women had absolutely equal rights with preaching and spreading the gospel. The reason Mary came to become well known is during the trial of fellow dissenter Anne Hutchinson. She stood up and actually left with her to stand in solidarity. That was actually the first time that she was told not to return to Massachusetts, and she left for Rhode Island, where she was eventually converted into being a Quaker. Now, the reason she was considered a monster of the time period is she was discovered to have had a stillbirth of a monstrous child that was discovered to be very deformed. One of the midwives actually had originally testified that it was just the head of the infant, but it was later exhumed, and they discovered that the entire body of the child was deformed. And I read that account in another article by Johann Windsor, where he was describing the entire timeline of both the discovery that the child was deformed when it was actually buried, and then when it came out during the trial and the exhumation. He did a very good job of explaining the entire history of everything that we know about that. And then I also had a article by Stella Setka that was discussing more of the martyr side of Mary Dyer, also like the way Johann Windsor did in his, where he was talking about Burrough, but hers was through the way that articles were being presented that were more like myth-like of Mary, and I thought that was very interesting to see the contrast of the way that her contemporaries were considering her a monster, and the Puritan beliefs and her own people editing her, versus the way afterwards that other Quakers were spinning her into more of this true description of womanhood, and how she was all the ideals of what that time period of woman, of a Quaker faithful woman was, and why she was a martyr to the faith. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it.